Welcome back, guys. 97.1 FM Talk, Dave Glover Show. Very rare that we talk about the same thing twice in a row. Really, twice ever, much less 2 days in a row.
Right.
But it's something I'm really, really into. As you guys know, if you've been listening to the show for any length of time, science and religion and the interplay thereof. And back in the 80s, this guy found a fossil. He's a fossil hunter, and they find millions and millions of fossils. He found it in Germany. And it was a fossil of primate. And that's a big deal because you don't find fossils of primates. And this one appeared to be some sort of quote-unquote missing link. It had aspects of a lemur and aspects of apes and aspects of humans and, very, very interesting. So I brought that up yesterday during the Priest and the Rabbi segment. We had a lot of people calling in saying, oh, no, it's a hoax, or there's no way that God spoke the world into existence. There's no such thing as evolution. And I said, well, that's perfect because back when they brought this thing out into the open a couple of weeks ago, I said, let's do a show. Let's do a debate about this, and let's get our old friend Michael Shermer, who is the editor and publisher of Skeptic Magazine. We've had Michael on any number of times over the years.
Yep.
And let's get Dr. Dino. And Dr. Dino is Kent Hovind. We have his son, Eric Hovind. I believe that Michael debated Kent years ago.
Correct.
And now he'll be on with with Eric. First, let's get Eric on. Eric, thanks for being on the show. We really appreciate it, man.
No, my pleasure, Dave. Thank you.
And Michael, my old friend, how are you, pal?
Good.
Great to talk to you. Good to be back. Good to have you back. Okay, Michael, let's start with you. And I'll just throw you the softball. We had so many people calling up yesterday saying sort of the cliche, well, evolution's a theory. It's not a fact. To you, evolution, theory, or fact?
Well, it's both. I mean, it depends how you use these terms. But by theory, we mean an overarching explanation for a wide diversity of facts. And the facts are the data of the world. That is, it's the stuff that we use to describe the natural world. And so there are very few theories in science that are more well-supported, all-encompassing, convergent or conciliant, as we say. That is, independent lines of inquiry come together to the same conclusion. And it's not like these guys all meet on the weekends to get their story straight. These are different fields: botany and zoology and paleontology and geology and astronomy and biocosmology and so on and so on. I mean, it's a wide variety of sciences and genetics and population genetics, and they're all kind of the same conclusion that, evolution happened. There's no question about it. And the only debates really are, how did it happen, how did it unfold, and new finds like Ida, the one you just described, bring up new questions about tempo and mode and evolution and branches and when different species branched off and how that happens. So the science is very vigorous and lively. There's lots of debates and controversies. It's not at all a closed-minded, dogmatic belief system where you have to accept certain tenets. No, I mean, if you go to any evolution conference, you'll see, oh my God, these guys are fighting about all sorts of things. So, but no one disputes that it happened. Clearly it happened, and it happened over an immense period of time, because of the dating techniques, again, are so convergent. They're independent of one another, different kinds of tests that have no relation to one another, and they all come up with a very old Earth, for example. That's why we know it didn't happen in the last 10,000 years, but instead over the last 4.5 billion years.
And I was going to say it's about 4.5, 4.8, somewhere around there, billion years. And about how long, according to science, have we had, quote-unquote, life of some sort on the planet?
Over 3 billion, about 3.5. So it appears that shortly after planets are formed and you get certain stability in the crust and so on, then you start to get biochemistry that can give rise to life. We think it's probably, the question about extraterrestrial life, we think it's probably abundant in terms of very simple forms. It's probably very rare in terms of complex forms like ourselves.
And, Michael, I was trying to describe for people Ida, and I did probably a very poor job of it.
No, you did a good job, actually.
Okay.
Ida is a pretty exciting find because it does fill in another branching bush there, another sort of twig in the bush there that Darwin predicted. So in terms of, evolution is not really a science because you can't test it. Yes, you can. You can make predictions and test it. And if the tests come out a certain way, then your hypothesis is supported, and if not, not. So, for example, if you found fossilized mammals in bedding plains that had trilobites in them, that would be a serious problem for evolutionary theory. And yet you never find that, ever. So creationists, they can test evolution. They can go out and find contradictory data. If they can, they should go out and look, and that's how science progresses. It's just that no one's ever found that kind of contradictory data. So what IDA does is it shows the branching off of about 14 million years ago, one line that went off to monkeys like lemurs, and the other line that went off to apes like gorillas, chimps, orangs, gibbons, and us.
And Eric, I find I was a Dr. Dino the last few days and find the site and the theory fascinating, as I have since I talked to your dad years ago. And explain to us that not only do you not really accept evolution as the way that Michael's talking about it, but you believe that rather than being billions of years old, that the Earth was created by God thousands of years ago.
Yeah, and the evidence really points that out. I'd like to also say thank you to Michael Shermer. I love a lot of the work that he does on Skeptic. Man, he does some great stuff. If he got himself right on this evolution thing, he'd be really good to go.
The wrong kind of skeptic. The global warming skeptics tell me the same thing.
Do they? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, get this one right, and you'll be good in my mind. The whole idea, okay, what about evolution? Is it a theory or a fact? Now, there's no question. We all look at the exact same facts. Michael is exactly right about that. The problem is evolutionists claim that evolution is actually part of the fact, when, in fact, it's not. Evolution is an interpretation of the data, of the facts. Nobody's going to argue with the facts. What we're arguing over is what they mean. When I see the Grand Canyon, I see an interpretation that interprets the biblical flood. When an evolutionist sees the Grand Canyon, they see something that interprets billions and billions of years. I'd rather not even say that evolution is a theory, to be honest with you. I mean, when you look at the scientific method and you come up with a hypothesis, then you test it, then you draw conclusions and you come up with a theory, that's the way science is supposed to work. So evolution, unfortunately, is still in the hypothesis stage. You haven't really gotten past that because the testable, observable evidence shows us that dogs produce dogs, cats produce cats. Now, if you want to believe that happened, or that a dog can produce something that is not a dog over a long period of time, you're welcome to believe that. But now we're outside the realm of science. Now we're outside of testable, observable things. So really, to be honest with you, Dave, evolution is just a hypothesis. It's not even a theory. Michael said all the fields of science come to the same exact conclusion. Well, it just so happens that there's lots and lots of scientists in every single field of science who disagree 100% with that statement. So what do you do with all those scientists that disagree with the fact that evolution happened? And talking about Ida, I love how he says, it's one more of the twigs in the bush of evolution. I love how they put these little diagrams up on paper and they show the branching tree of evolution. Their evidence, that what they're basing their worldview on, their evidence is a line. You take your pen, you put it on the paper, you draw the two together with a line, and that is your evidence. I'm sorry, man, that's not scientific. That doesn't float.
Michael, your response?
Well, a good example is the testable nature of evolution is the Grand Canyon. We have lots of examples of areas that are the result of devastating floods, and they have certain geological features like debris flow, piles at the end of the flooding plain, and that sort of thing. You can tell the difference between something that's been cut by a flood in one fell swoop, a catastrophic event, and something that's been cut over eons of time. The Grand Canyon has no debris flow, deposits from floods at all, whereas in other areas, even up in that area, in the north of the western United States, you can find debris flows from huge floods. It's just that's not what happened in the Grand Canyon. So you have to know a little bit of geology to tell the difference. Like an intro geology class can help you see the difference between something that's been cut over an enormous period of time slowly by erosion and something that's been devastated by a catastrophic flood. So the flood, the biblical account of Noah's flood, does not account for the Grand Canyon. If it did, we would see those signs. So what bothers me the most about the young Earth creationists in particular is the insistence that, really, the only source they have is the Bible. And the Bible is not a book of science. It's a book of poetry and mythology and morality and how people should get along with one another. And the stories in there are meant to be read metaphorically as a moral homily to teach us a lesson about something. So the book of Job, for example, is about suffering and pain and why bad things happen to good people. It's not a book about cosmology like my creationist friends at Reasons to Believe, Hugh Ross. They insist that, when Job says, God expands the heavens like a tent, that this is, somehow a description of the expanding cosmological universe from a Big Bang. No, it has nothing to do with that. He's praising the power of God, and in the next sentence he's talking about God being able to do something else like move mountains and that kind of thing. And it has nothing to do with science, and I think that's the mistake.
Okay, a perfect start. We have Michael Shermer here from Skeptic Magazine. You can find it at www.skeptic.com. Great magazine. I'm a subscriber. We have Eric Hovind from Dr. Dino, which is drdino.com. Again, fascinating website. Talking about evolution. Did God speak the world into existence 6,000 or 8,000 years ago, or natural occurrences, haphazard occurrences, form our planet 5 billion years ago, or was it both? We'll be right back. Dave Glover Show, 314-969-9797 if you want to join the debate.
Listening to the Dave Glover Show.
She really upset with me.
Welcome back, guys. 525, Dave Glover Show. My guests are Michael Shermer of Skeptic Magazine, www.skeptic.com, and Eric Hovind at drdino.com, D-R-D-I-N-O, talking about whether evolution is fact or theory, whether it actually accounts for why we're here, how we're here. Eric was just making the point before we went to break that the Earth is thousands of years old, as evidenced by the Grand Canyon, which Michael Shermer said, no, you can tell that that's millions of years old, and here's why. Lots of people calling in with opinions and questions and challenges to both of my guests. Eric, let me ask you, Michael knows me better than you do, but like Michael was back in his college years, I am someone who strives and struggles to be a believer, to be a Christian, yet the scientific side of my mind finds it quite troubling and thorny. Evolution and Ida and dinosaurs and carbon dating and Lucy and all these kinds of things. How do you account for what certainly looks like billions of years and all these different Neanderthals and the Lucy skeleton and dinosaurs at the very minimum? How did all that happen in just a few thousand years?
Man, Dave, we're going to need a few more shows to cover all that, all right? But if you really want to get into all of it, my dad's seminar series, I don't know if you've ever gotten to see it. It's 18 hours long, and it literally answers every single one of those things you just brought up.
Wow.
You can actually watch it online for free at our website, drdino.com. It is just so intense. And a lot of people, just like you, have said, hey, look, science has always gotten in my way. What do I do? And that's why our ministry is called Creation Science Evangelism. I like science, too. Your commercial there. Dave, you could have used me as the example. I would like Blue Sky ice cream because I like science. I mean, we dig science. So science really goes along with God's Word perfect. I heard Michael Shermer say that, the Bible's not a science book. You got to read it as a metaphor. Well, although it's not a science book, anytime it speaks of scientific principles, it is 100% accurate. I find that interesting. And I believe you can believe God's Word 100% literal. Science and the Bible do not conflict with each other, and that's something you really got to understand. It's evolution that conflicts. See, evolution is not really part of science. Evolution is a description of what some people believed happened to get the universe where it's at today. And it conflicts with creation, another view on how we think the world got, of how other people think the world got here. And really, Dave, there's a couple things that Michael said that I was biting my tongue on. You really got to define what we're talking about here. I mean, he's using the word evolution. Well, what does evolution mean? It may mean one thing to him and a totally another thing to me. We actually just did a Creation Minute on this. Did you get to see those yet?
No.
CreationMinute.com goes through the 6 different types of evolution. It also covers the Grand Canyon he was just talking about. You look at the science, the facts that we're dealing with. And, dude, the Grand Canyon did not form over millions of years by the Colorado River. Scientifically, it is impossible. And anyway, we cover that there and go into that if you want. But, Man, the
other thing
fact that Grand Canyon is evidence of evolution? No. That's evidence of a worldwide flood. The top of the canyon.
Let me ask you something, Eric.
Yeah.
If you think the whole world was created 6,000 years ago, that's 4,000 BC. We know that the Babylonians invented beer about 4,000 BC. So you're telling me that you think the entire universe was created about the same time the Babylonians were inventing beer?
Yeah, well, Michael, most people go to the Egyptians and try to use the Egyptians as evidence that it's more than 6,000 years old. When you add up the dates in the Bible, we can go by the biblical dates, and they add up to be about 6,000 years. Adam lived 130 when Seth was born. You go right there and add them up.
Why would you even bother with that? Because we have much better techniques than
Whoa. Do we have better techniques? I mean, when we found evidence that God's Word is true with 24,000
I mean, why read the Bible? Why not read some other ancient text? Why choose the Bible as the one you think is the right one?
When it's
what
got
makes you
so
think
much
that
evidence supporting it,
the
you got 24,000 manuscripts saying, look, this is exactly the way it has always been. You got more evidence that the Bible is correct and true than Plato existed.
Well, let's do this. Let me do this.
There's a lot of stuff
Michael, you talked about the different types of dating. Bring them up, briefly explain them, and then, Eric, you tell me the problem you have with these different types of dating.
Sure.
Yeah, like carbon-14 dating, for example, is very accurate in terms of, like, say, within the last 5 to 10,000 years or so. And although there are error bars and different labs get slightly different dates, they're only off by a few tens of years at most, with a range given, say, between 5,700 and 5,800 years ago, that kind of thing. And so unless all these different scientists in different labs are purposely lying or making these things up, or the whole technique is consistently, with every artifact from all over the world, wrong in the same way, that tells us, for example, that the Babylonians really were drinking beer about the same time that Yahweh was creating the world. That can't be concilable. And as you know, Eric, there's old Earth creationists. I mentioned Hugh Ross and the Reasons to Believe folks. They are just as deeply religious. Their belief in Jesus and their faith in the Bible is just as deep as yours, and they are equally insistent that you are totally wrong about the age of the Earth, the age of the universe, the Grand Canyon, the whole thing. They accept all of the scientific explanations. So why bother with insisting on the biblical stuff when most Bible scholars would disagree with you? Forget the skeptics and me and the scientists. Biblical scholars who are the same faith as you, who believe in Jesus and the whole thing, they completely disagree with you.
Yeah, I don't know why we would compromise a perfectly good book, the Bible, that has never, ever, ever been proven wrong, with a theory, actually a hypothesis of evolution, that's never been proven right, man. We've never seen it proved right. You said there's lots of evidence. What about the fact that they found fresh dinosaur bones that should have fossilized millions of years ago? Dude, it doesn't add up. There's too many holes in the theory. It's a hypothesis that's never stood the test of time.
Now, as you know, in Genesis 1 and Genesis 2, there are two different creation stories. In the first
now
one,
you're misleading
Adam and Eve are
really
created at the same time, and in the second chapter, Adam's created first, and then Eve is created later. Which
and
one
when you
is
find
correct?
out that the second chapter is just an interpretation of day number 6 of creation,
so it is okay to interpret.
Oh, no,
it is okay to interpret the stories. They're not to be read literally.
It says real clearly right there. He's talking about day number 6 of creation. We cover that on our seminar series too. As far as the age of the Earth, Dave, what you were wondering about,
correct.
Does carbon dating really prove the Earth is billions of years old, or even hundreds of thousands of years old? No.
Dave asked for one example. I gave you carbon-14. But what about, Eric, aren't you troubled by passages in Deuteronomy and Leviticus about, say, stoning to death adulterers?
God judged the whole world with a flood. Are you kidding? He killed everybody. You ought to be concerned about the fact that he's going to judge this world again. You and I are going to get judged. That's what you ought to be concerned about.
If we stick with your ethics from the Old Testament, half of Congress would be stoned to death.
And it's how many would be in favor of that? Come on now.
You don't accept
Michael, you're going to get converted.
Let me get a couple
of. You would accept all of the Bible. There's no possible way.
Oh, I do indeed, and I think it's because you don't understand exactly who God is. The God that created the universe can do whatever He wants to do.
I mean, you believe
You're
in the
welcome
death
to
penalty
say, "I can't believe in a God that would do that," but you've made up your own God.
You believe in the death penalty for disobedient children?
I know a lot of parents that would love to do that. I bet kids would behave a lot better.
You believe in the death penalty for working on the Sabbath?
Well, again, now you're talking about interpretation of the Bible. We're not under the law; we're under grace. Hey, let me get back to carbon-14 that you mentioned right there. What if I showed you tons of examples of carbon-14 dating that doesn't work? You said, look, they're only a few tenths off. The reality is, no, carbon dating, it unfortunately has a lot of assumptions. Very neat idea, and we covered that in seminar number 7 of our seminar series. Great idea. The science behind it is really cool, but you have to put too many assumptions in the dating method. They have carbon-dated living snails to be 27,000 years old. A freshly killed seal was carbon-dated to be 9,000 years old. A mammoth, the front half carbon-dated to be 14,000 years old. The back half of the same mammoth was 26,000 years old. You talk about a slow birth, man. We got a serious problem there.
Michael, you know about these? These ringing a bell at all?
No, I don't.
Well, check out seminar number 7. It's for free on our website, drdino.com.
Carbon-14 dating is used daily by thousands of scientists all over the world.
Here's the problem.
They wouldn't use it. And the only people that think it doesn't work are young Earth creationists. They tell you so.
When we come back, we'll take some of your phone calls. Michael Shermer from Skeptic Magazine, Eric Hovind from Dr. Dino, who says the world's only 8,000 years old. Be right back, Dave Glover Show. Minutes shy of 6 p.m. Michael Shermer from Skeptic Magazine and Eric Hovind from drdino.com. And we're talking about evolution, talking about creationism, talking about old Earth, young Earth. Lots of people dying to get in on this. Maggie, you're on with our guest. Go ahead.
Hi, this question is for Dr. Dino.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you don't believe in evolution, since you can't really test it within a relatively quick amount of time, like a lifetime or whatnot, how do you explain genetic engineering in animals that have such a shorter lifespan to where you're able to see results faster because of more offspring and able to kind of breed, selective breeding within that? Because with their shorter lifespan, you can see it a lot faster, but with humans, you wouldn't be able to see it for a great deal longer. How do you explain that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And the truth of the matter is, we have tried that on animals with real short lifespans. They did the fruit fly experiment where they raised 80,000 generations of fruit flies. And guess what they have at the end of the experiments? Fruit flies. They got all kinds of mutated babies. Flies with no wings at all. I guess you'd have to call that a crawl, not a fly. Flies with curled wings, flies with white eyes, all kinds of mutated baby flies. They never got anything different. They always got a fly. So you're right, we can do that, and we have. And the science has shown us that evolution doesn't happen. It actually stays the same. The Bible even tells us that's what's going to happen. It says the animals are going to bring forth after their kind, and that's exactly what we see. Now, evolutionists assume that some things can change over long periods of time. The dog can produce something that's not a dog if you give it enough time. Well, again, you're welcome to believe that. You can believe anything you want to believe. But don't call that science.
Eric, what do you do? Let's take just dinosaurs. How do you explain dinosaurs?
Oh, man, they fit beautifully with God's Word. God made all the animals. He made the dinosaurs on day 6 of creation. They were in the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve. You got to remember, the word dinosaur is a brand new word invented in 1841. Before they were called dinosaurs, they were always called dragons. And there are literally thousands of stories down through the centuries of people killing dragons. Seminar number 3 of our series goes into dinosaurs in the Bible, how it all fits together. There is absolutely zero contradiction whatsoever. Matter of fact, the science that we see today, I mentioned earlier, the fact that we see fresh dinosaur bones that have not been fossilized. Now, when that was found, the evolutionists never questioned how old they were. Instead, they questioned how fossilization takes place. Whoa. Why wouldn't instead we say, hang on, maybe the bones aren't that old. But because of their preconceived idea about evolution, they said, this means fossilization takes even longer than we thought.
Michael, your thoughts on dinosaurs?
Yeah, well, it's not because we have some faith or ideology that everything has to be old. In fact, the original sequence of fossil bedding planes in which we get the whole sequence of fossil record was created long before Darwin by Christian geologists in the 18th century in England. And so there's nothing particularly ideological about it. It's just the way it's laid out. So the particular dinosaur specimen he's talking about, that's one out of a zillion. The rest of them are all completely mineralized. In other words, there's no bone at all. It's just the bones turned into stone. And so it stands out as an exception. And the reason we have confidence that the bones are very old is because of all the different dating techniques, not just carbon-14, but like, say, potassium-argon is a dating technique in which potassium is slowly decaying into argon at a very predictable rate, such that if you take it back in time, based on the specimens you have, you can date it back to hundreds of millions and even billions of years old. That's how we know they're old. We don't think they're old because we have some ideological faith in it. It's because there's so much evidence in support of that.
But you got to admit, Michael, there's some assumptions that go into those dating methods. You're assuming it didn't get contaminated, assuming the rate of decay has always been the same.
Well, even if it got contaminated, why would it be contaminated in the same way all over the Earth in all kinds of different specimens?
I think a worldwide flood would have
it's the
something to do with it.
consilience between all these different ones.
Well, let me ask both of you, maybe it's the lawyer in me, but if you had to stand in front of a jury and you said, okay, I'm only going to give you 2 or 3 pieces of evidence, and you shuffle through your papers and say, okay, give me the best 3 we have. Michael, for you, what would be the first 2 or 3 things that come to mind that would argue in favor of natural selection and evolution over the billions and billions of years?
It's the convergence between genetic evidence and fossil evidence that shows us, for example, the split between humans and the other great apes at 5 to 6 million years ago. That split is found both in the fossil record and in our DNA record.
According to your interpretation, yeah.
According to every scientific interpretation.
No, not every. Definitely not every.
They're all fairly consistent that way. And it's not like the geologists and paleontologists and then meet with the geneticists on the weekends and go, okay, we got to get our story straight because that Hovind guy is going to challenge us. No, they don't even know each other. They don't go to the same conferences, and yet they both come to the same conclusion that we branched off 5 to 6 million years ago.
Okay, when we come back, we'll get Eric's best 2 or 3 pieces of evidence for why the God created the Earth, and it didn't evolve, and why he created it thousands of years ago, not billions of years ago. Dave Glover Show, be right back.
The Dave Glover Show.
Welcome back, and to get to this as quick as we can, Michael Shermer from Skeptic Magazine, www.skeptic.com, and Eric Hovind from Dr. Dino, DRDINO.com here debating evolution and creationism. Before I get to Eric and get his couple of best pieces of evidence, I had a caller call in here, Michael, and say, from the billions of fossils found, why is there not one transitional fossil ever found?
Oh, my God, there's thousands of transitional fossils. That can only be asked by somebody who knows nothing about paleontology. Thousands and thousands of transitional fossils. The Ida discovery that you opened the show with, which was the subject of a 2-hour History Channel special 2 nights ago, that is a beautiful example of a transitional fossil. And there's tons of them like that. I mean, Lucy is a transitional fossil between quadrupeds and bipeds, primates. And, her pelvis is a perfect transitional fossil between an ape that walked on all 4s and an ape like us that walks on 2 legs. There's just tons of examples like that in lots of fish examples, amphibian examples, dinosaur examples, transitions between reptiles and birds, for example, whale transitions between land mammals and marine mammals. There's a dozen transitional fossils. I recommend the book that we carry, Don Prothero's book called Evolution, The Fossils Say Yes, that we carry at skeptic.com. It is literally 500 pages of transitional fossils pictured with diagrams and photographs and interpretations and so on, and all the data are there.
Okay, Eric, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I was going to ask. Eric said that Genesis gets it right. Genesis gets it wrong at every step. It opens Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. No, that's not right. We know the earth came well after the universe was created. The universe was created about 13.7 billion years ago, and the Earth 4.6 billion years ago. So it's wrong. Then the Earth was created without form and void, and yet there's water. Well, wait, water comes much later than the initial formation of the Earth. And then God creates light after that. Well, wait, light came from stars, which were created long before the Earth was created. And then he divides
Michael, I don't
the waters
know how old you are, but within about 50 years, you're going to figure out the truth.
Every sentence in Genesis 1 through 1:9 is wrong.
Eric, what about that? Before I get your best evidence, what about what Michael just brought up?
Yeah, okay, transitional fossils. First of all, no. Again, and let me just do this. This will make it real easy. Anybody that calls our office, I'll give them a free 2-hour DVD on the subject, creation versus evolution, and it will answer so many questions. It's a DVD called Confronting Evolution, and if you call 877-479-3466, that's a toll-free number. I'll send that out to you absolutely free. You'll have to leave a message because our office is closed right now. But call 877-479-3466 and leave your name and information, and request that free DVD. I'll send that to you because it really does answer a lot of these questions that we're talking about. Okay, are there any transitional fossils? Well, you're welcome to interpret something as a transitional fossil. But no, the fossils that we see in the ground are just like the animals alive today. We find so many fossils that are supposedly, according to the evolution world, billions of years old.
Where's T-Rex?
Yet the problem is they look exactly the same
where
as the ones that we have today.
Where is anything alive today that looks like T-Rex?
What I'm saying is the fossils that we find, I mean, now some animals are definitely extinct. There's no question about that. Okay, now you're talking about extinction. But the fossils that we find today look just like the animals that are still alive today. Now, if an animal is extinct, obviously we don't have that animal today. So I think that'd be a poor argument. But as far as the transitional fossils, no, we've never found one. There's never been a half man, half ape. Every single one has been either a hoax, a fraud, or a misidentification. We got a great book on that called Bones of Contention by Marvin Lubenow. Actually just did a Creation and Common Sense episode on that.
That is
and that's
so
on
not
our
true.
website, drdino.com.
Every mistake and even a couple of frauds have all been exposed by scientists, not creationists. You guys.
Well, now you're assuming that a creationist can't be a scientist now, aren't you?
No, I mean,
isn't that what you just implied, Michael? Can somebody be a creationist? And that's where we get down to semantics again.
Including the debunking
because
of
what is
scientific errors and fraud has been exposed by scientists themselves. Check this out.
Perfect. Okay.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, guys. You can find Michael Shermer at Skeptic Magazine, skeptic.com, and Eric at drdino.com, although I don't know why he did to sell anything else. He just sold everything he had right there. Well, okay, what did you think? Who won that? Who made more sense to you?
I think Shermer had the better points.
Rick?
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, because I think the rest was, unfortunately, hucksterism.
Yeah.
You know, and it's unfortunate that you had to go to I got to sell everything that I have
in
my warehouse.
I said
yesterday.
Instead
of just being a theorist.
Yeah, I said yesterday that I sort of apologized in advance. I thought I kind of hamstrung the non-evolutionary people by having the Dr. Dino guy because there is that sort of huckster deal going on. And his response to a lot of things that Michael brought up was, well, if you want to interpret that, that's fine. Well, that's not really a response.
Right.
Tell me why that's wrong. If Lucy, the famous, half human skeleton was a fraud, well, who did it?
Right.
Was it made of plaster? Give me some facts behind it. So I have to go with you on that one, too. We'll take a break. We'll be back. If you want to give me your thoughts on this, go to 971talk.com or you find me on my Facebook and send me an email. We'll talk about it. Be right back. Dave Glover Show.
Next.
Dr. Lynch is out there in the wings filling my son full of dragons.
Yeah,
you want to hear the real story of where dragons and where they are today. Wait 5 minutes.
Beautiful.
Well, it's a well-known fact, Sonny Jim, that there's a secret society of the 5 wealthiest people in the world known as the Pentaverate, who run everything in the world, including the newspapers, and meet tri-annually at a secret country mansion in Colorado known as the Meadows.
So who's in this Pentaverate?
The Queen, the Vatican, the Gettys, the Rothschilds, and Colonel Sanders before he went tits up. Oh, I hated the Colonel with his wee beady eyes and that smug look on his face. Oh, you're gonna buy my chicken. Oh!
Dad, how can you hate the Colonel?
Because he puts an addictive chemical in his chicken that makes you crave it fortnightly, smartass!
Welcome back. A few minutes past 6 p.m. Dave Glover Show. Yeah, next time we do that, let's find someone who's not selling so much.
That's a huckster, man.
To do, because it's too bad, because there are a lot of people who do not believe in evolution.
Right.
Who think that guy's a complete ass.
Correct.
So, anyway. Speaking of complete asses, it's Paranormal Tuesday, so wow, it looks bad out there.
It does.
It is dark.
Doc, you said it was dark, but no rain, though.
Spooky night.
Yeah, it really is spooky.
Yeah.
Winnie the Pooh's blustery day. Michael Lynch is here from Paravisions, and my son. Probably get hotlined at DFS for exposing him to the poison of Michael Lynch here.
He's indoctrinated, dude.
Actually, I heard the entire bit. I heard the entire
Hey, what do you think? What do you think about it?
Very interesting. It's
you tell me what he's going to say.
He has to do his thing.
Now, is it dragons? I thought I heard you say dragons.
No. That we understand the development of dinosaurs. I mean, if you want to look at the evolutionary process, it came from like Nick said, an alligator or a lizard coming out of the water on the first day of March or whatever, blah blah blah, flipping his things, and comes up and says, "Hey, it's safer on land than being in the water." Okay, so I'm going to have my eggs on land or whatever and keep going that direction because we think it's safer that way. Like the dolphin said, no, it's not safer that way. We're going to go back to the ocean. So you actually have the dolphin actually evolving onto land, and then all of a sudden, millions of years later, going back to the ocean because it was much safer there. I guess just
so dolphins used to be on the land.
Yeah, they actually had hip bones, and they actually had rear legs, very much like a small dog.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And then they returned.
I would
back.
crap my
That'd be
pants.
scary. Oh, brother.
If I saw a dolphin walking,
forget
crazy
it.
hip bones across the.
I'm done. Yeah,
like a
flipper.
Pan
what
dolphin.
happened?
Yeah, that's crazy.
So if you want to talk about there's evolution, there's de-evolution. And like I said last time I was on, we were kind of, because you guys were mentioning you want to do an evolution show. And I said, if you want to do an evolution show, you better go back to the fish and find the fish that actually gave us our genetic leap. And our genetic leap is not, is not what we really think it is. Walking upright and building homes and air conditioning and high screen, high definition TV. The thing about humans, if anyone wants to go out there and look up the thing, it will say sunlight. And we see in a certain spectrum of color ratio. Our eyes are genetically designed, as well as with our brains and our skin, to absorb and process sunlight. We are not nocturnal. We are we're daylight animals. If you go back in 2008, October 2008, Physics Today issue has a big picture of a fish on it. And like I said, you have to go back to the fish structure. A group of scientists took several varieties of tropical fish. Now, some can see only in certain nanometer ranges, like they can only see in the red spectrum or the green spectrum. They don't see the full range of light, but some fish do. Mm-hmm. So they were thinking, hey, what we can do is increase an amino acid protein, just put a little protein in the right chromosome, in the right little situation, and maybe these fish can see a broader spectrum of light. So we go from just 2 or 3 spectrums of light to all of a sudden we're seeing the entire spectrum of light, just like the regular human being is. And so what they've done is that they actually perform several experiments because these unique fish actually they propagate very fast. You can go through several generations. You can actually look for this protein marker and see if their eyes can see a wider spectrum of light. And that's exactly what they did. They actually took several species, injected them with this protein, and they could see over several generations. It may have skipped a generation, and then it would kick in. But slowly over time, several generations later, this protein would kick in, and they could see a wider parameter of the different frequencies of light.
And then they said, "What the hell is that? It's a porpoise with legs!"
Run.
I'm
throwing a wiener and getting out of here.
Stay on land, right?
So the whole idea is that what was the difference? So they took one variety of fish that was eager to mutate or evolve. I mean, I wouldn't say eager, but just that variety, and they went back and took the ancestor of that fish, and they did the same experiment. It was not so eager to change its spectrum of its eye and the bandwidth of it. So we have to look at, I think if you want to talk evolution, you have to look at species that are highly motivated to survive and that their cellular structure, their chromosome structure, are willing to accept changes in order for that change to kick in. Now, in human beings, like in males, we have color blindness, like there's 4 different varieties of color blindness, and 1 out of every 10 male will have a form of color blindness. And the situation is, it's a carrier to the gene, and it may skip generations. It may not be on every offspring, but it is a carrier. Now, in the old days, if you couldn't see the tiger in the tall grass, because you were slightly colorblind, the tiger would run out and jump.
You're dead.
You were dead. You were dinner. Okay,
You're like,
for the
hey,
tiger.
Larry, and then
done.
So
I smell something.
So in the early days, a lot of these genetic oddities, these were taken out just because of people they couldn't identify their surroundings.
I've never heard you so rational. I figured you.
What do you mean? What's that?
Right, he's actually.
There were some leprechauns.
Right
there were some leprechauns.
Well, you're always talking about Raelians and
I do have a question.
Okay.
Val Bortland or whatever his name is.
Yes.
Are there dragons on the Earth right now?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. One was seen over Tibet. A guy was flying over in a small plane, actually took a photograph of a dragon.
It looks like a dragon.
Ow!
Son of a buck, that was good. I'm glad I didn't say a bad word right there, Doc. I got to go change my drawer.
That's a dragon for you.
I got the dragon. There is a real dragon. He's quick. He surprises you. Stealthy, and he goes for the stuff. So look out.
These shows.
Damn. But no, wait,
Yeah,
Doc. Does it look
No,
like?
it looks like the Chinese dragon, which is like a long serpentine animal.
I was saying,
Yeah.
Columbia beat me to it.
Not like the
I got you.
Yeah,
Okay.
not like the medieval dragon. Not like the medieval dragon
you stop there.
that is.
What's a Chinese dragon look like?
It's a long cylindrical, like a snake kind of thing with like legs and little wings.
Where they live?
In Upper Tibet, and the whole idea is that
Like it's no big deal.
the deal is that they actually have to live in caves, and this is some of the folklore. But they always
monks?
say the dragons live in caves, and you got to throw in the virgin or whatever. The whole idea is they require that because they go into hibernation for a very long time, and they have to stay
like
warm.
on Rain of Fire.
And so,
bingo.
And so the deal is that like
Reading
snakes, they've got to hibernate, and that's how they stay warm, and they shed their skin, and they come out, and so they actually go up in these mountains.
So they may have been sleeping for thousands of years.
Yes, exactly. And the folklore in China is that every millennium they awaken, and this is where you get the dragon and the phoenix wrapped up in their mythology. One is the destroyer, one is the recreator. The phoenix is destruction, and from the ashes will rise the phoenix. The dragons are the ones that come for the destruction. And the reason that they think they're seeing them now in China is that they have had earthquakes, and of course North Korea dropping off a few nukes. But the whole idea is that there have been some earthquakes in the upper mountains of China, which may have awoken them from their sleep. And that's what.
So they're having dragon spottings in China.
They're having dragon
That ain't
spottings.
That's not good.
Yeah.
So can they breathe fire?
No, they can't breathe fire. But there is.
That's silly, Nick.
That's silly. But there is some misnomer.
Don't be so stupid.
Godzilla can breathe fire, and that's cool.
Where's he live?
Godzilla. He lives in New York now. But,
Southern Tibet.
He was in Japan. Godzilla. But anyway, Godzilla.
See that he just like downshifts into Goofy. You can't keep up with him.
Wow. But anyway, so the whole idea is that they don't really breathe fire, but the whole idea is that they could, spit some venom or something like that, like other snakes do, and they could, that's how they could survive.
So they're just natural animals.
They are natural animals. They're very large, serpentine, snake-like, animals, and they have been seen not only by air but on the ground. People have seen them in the mountains, just lying there, stretched out over rocks, absorbing heat. So
Rain of Fire was a very interesting concept.
Yep.
Because the whole thing was these things sleep for like 5,000 years.
Yeah.
Correct.
And so no one even close to alive had ever seen one, and all the mythology of them, and then they wake up like locusts.
Yeah.
Like the 18-year locust, and they come out and they're a problem and they go away.
Yeah.
Or Bosnians.
There are many animals like the cicadas and several other things that sleep for 7 years. They come out, and we don't see them every day. And so you can have life cycles that supersede us. Look at some of the sequoia trees. They've been around for thousands of years. If anyone wants to test the biblical record, just go down and cut down a sequoia tree. It'll be around for almost
You'll be in jail.
3,000
years. You don't accept
like
the young Earth.
No.
8,000 years.
No. It can't be.
Silly.
It can't be. Okay. No. I can tell you real close why this all didn't happen that way. It took three supernovas, three massive supernovas to create. If we're talking about universal time to create enough heavy elements in our universe just to create iron, just for that iron to get into my bloodstream.
True.
Okay, so the Earth had to be around. And since we find all these heavy elements, gold, iron, cadmium, calcium, neon, all that stuff. Cocoa beans, cocoa whatever. Hershey's cocoa.
All right now.
You've had to have had all that stuff processed over billions of years. I want to talk Carl Sagan here, billions of years, and we are technically an arrangement, maybe intellectually, maybe haphazardly.
Yeah, Tom, I'm guessing you don't know this since you didn't know 2 weeks ago that the sun was a star, but that's where heavy elements
are generated,
come from. Supernova, they blow up. And you get things like gold and uranium and lead.
Learned there that that's how we got the iron in our body.
Well, that's how we got us.
Exactly.
We are literally made of star stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And so
I always knew I was a star.
And so if you
Ruby
start,
starfish,
if you start looking around, you have to say, well, if I got here, how did all this happen? And like I said, I want to jump in the Carl Sagan boat, but yeah, you've got to go back in time. I wouldn't say to the Big Bang, but you
had a really funny visual of the Carl Sagan boat. Tiny little guy trying to row it.
You've got to
get nowhere.
You've got to get it back a few billions
years. And billions
and
of strokes.
And then ignite a lot of...
nowhere in my boat.
A lot of...
Dr. Lynch.
Yeah.
You got paddle.
You got your speck of things and fly through the cosmos. But the whole idea is you got to make a lot of big explosions way back in time.
Excellent point.
To get to us to where we're at today.
That's a real one.
And the carbon, I mean, if you want to look at like a
dwarf?
Not a white dwarf.
Hey, now, what
is it called?
Don't keep the dwarves
Don't
color
pig pile on
man.
them. They're already got enough to deal with.
It's red, not a red dwarf.
I know. Wait,
anyway, it's a
pulsar. He's talking.
It's not a red dwarf. It's a pulsar. Actually, if you look at a pulsar is
you ever see a white dwarf pulsar?
So no, you
nasty.
Don't want that. Now, so did these supernovas cause the planet? Did they make our planet?
Oh no! That was just that was just one system. That was just one star, you might say, with enough gravity mass coming out of the nursery of stars. And then that had enough heavy mass with it that created what we
when we come back, Ken wants to ask the doctor about the dolphins. Yeah, me too. And Scott wants to give us biblical references for dragons. Beautiful. So don't miss that. Dave Glover Show, Paranormal Tuesday. A couple of housekeeping things. We still need a few people, not many, but a few, if you'd like to come out and spend the whole day with Tom and I, helping out Habitat for Humanity St. Charles building the Hope House. Our build day is July 18th. We'll be there all day, and especially if you have skills. If you don't, because we don't. But if you do, go to 971talk.com. Say, I'd love to help out a cause like this. You can see the family there who are building this thing for, and it's a very cool deal.
Fantastic.
We've released another 100 tickets, just 100, for the first annual Dave Glover Show keg parties. There's going to be hundreds of people there, all of them listeners to the show. The band's going to be there. We have the whole run of Sugar Creek Winery, and it's just going to be fantastic. Tickets are just $20, and not only does that get you in this cool, exclusive party, gets you the band, all the entertainment, gets you your first 5 beers.
Oh,
come on.
Can't beat that.
What? Come on, seriously.
Can't beat it.
It's June 20th, 6 p.m. until whenever. So go to 971talk.com and buy a block of them. Resell them. Make some money.
There you go.
See what I mean?
A grip.
Let's go to Ken, who's been holding on about the Dolphins. Hello, Ken.
Hey, Dave. How you guys doing?
Doing good, man.
Great.
Good. Hey, I enjoyed the debate, somewhat. I agree with you. The other guy was too much of a huckster.
Yeah.
You need somebody on there who's a little bit smarter than him to debate somebody as smart as Shermer. But
Very
anyway,
true.
I don't really believe in evolution, but I definitely don't believe the world's only 8,000 years old. But when the doc said about dolphins coming up on land and then, because it was safer and then going back, and I hope I'm not misrepresenting or characterizing what you said, Doc, and I'm not hammering you for what, the debate, but how would they know to do that? I mean, granted, they came out for how long? And all of a sudden they looked around and they saw, okay, well, it's a little bit safer here. It's not as treacherous in the water. And then they lay their eggs. Then all of a sudden, hey, guess now it's bad here. I need to go back. There's got to be something that's driving the engine, someone that's, you know, if that was true even, that would sit there and give them the knowledge to do it. I mean,
True.
It's
a smart dolphin.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they have the largest brains. I mean, as mammals, they have
What scared them?
The largest brains. And we don't
What's
know.
going to scare a walking dolphin?
But we do know
Tigers.
it was a community effort. It wasn't just, haphazard. It was a community effort. And since the dolphins echolocate, I think their brains.
I can't get them. They're all wearing vests and stuff,
I think their brains were too big for the land. I really think so. I think that they were just too smart to stay on land. I think to a strange extent. And then or there could have been predators that threatened them too much, and they just returned back to the oceans. But there are skeleton remains of hip bones in dolphins, and they actually modified their snouts to the blowhole. I mean, it was just a modification.
My cousin did that.
Still in jail.
Now he's doing 4 years in Joliet. Hello, Scott. Welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing good, man.
Dave, I get it, brother.
Thank you, pal.
Yeah, I was listening to this, and I don't normally chime in, but they were talking about dragons, and I had to jump in with there is actually a biblical reference. And I'm sitting here digging, trying to find it.
Okay, there we go.
But it's in Job.
Okay, we'll find. Don't worry, we'll find it. Thanks
jaw.
for sending us there, though. You thought he was eating something.
Every time I'm like smack. I'm like,
he was looking it up. You thought he was eating corn on the cob or something.
I'm like, dude, that's rude.
I'll look that up because.
Let me finish my Boston baked beans here.
Well, Glop.
But
that's a hard one.
But I kind of.
Why would we find dragon bones though?
Yeah.
We find.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, there have been a lot of bones that have been found in strange areas, like in the desert, and people have claimed that they're dragon bones, but they're really not. They're just several different dinosaurs all mixed together. I don't know. Maybe we just haven't found it. But if you go out into Utah and the Badlands of South Dakota or whatever, there are dinosaur bones strewn across the area. It will just take time to dig up. Each individual situation and just see if that really existed. The other thing is that we've had competing species on the planet before, and I brought this up last time, I think, is the Hobbit, and the Hobbit that was found, the Hobbit skeleton that was found. And so, I mean, it predates most of our ancestry to about 64 million years ago to end it, and it ended its civilization around 18,000 years ago. So it was a direct
Now, how did you
competitor.
identify a hobbit other than the cloak and their love of porridge?
I have no idea. It's just their musical
a long pipe.
Their musical intonations. But this skeleton that has been found and declared the Hobbit, if you take a look at it, they're saying it's not directly human, but it comes from a great ancestor of ours, a great-great-grandfather, a great-great-grandparent down the road.
A mutant.
And so if we think we're going to look at the evolutionary scale, we would have to include all the family tree, not just, Homo erectus or whatever, walking around. We would have to look at the entire family tree of what's stomping around out there in the woods.
Homos.
So I think if you want to throw in evolution, you really got to find the amino acids, the proteins, the development, and things like that.
What people don't realize, and this is going to make me sound like Mr. Egghead, but it is literally not possible to imagine the lengths of time that we're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
That if science is correct, and the world is almost 5 billion years old, and the universe is almost 14 billion years old, you can't imagine.
Oh, it's older than that. It's older than that, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because see, here's the debate, and I mean, I get into this every time I turn around. Okay, the universe is the size of a BB, a little BB pellet. Then all of a sudden it blows up. Okay, and then we have rapid inflation, and then we have rapid deflation. Okay, that's just bogus. Okay, so the whole idea is that it is probably more like 1 trillion years old. It's closer.
You're pulling
to
that out of your butt.
I'm not.
Whatever.
I'm not. You cannot sit
you
there and
poop that
tell
out
me,
like a fruit
no.
salad.
The Hubble telescope has virtually seen galaxies so far away that it would have had to take at least 1 trillion years.
Why didn't they tell us that?
For them to get there. Okay, so the average physicist is in there going, well, let me see, we got antimatter, we got some matter, we're going to put them together, make a little sandwich, we're going to have a little explosion.
They talk funny.
Bada boom, bada bing. We got Big Bang, we got hyperinflation, we got hyperdeflation. Talking
what if
economy.
they all talk like that?
They all do that. They're all from Brooklyn.
Going down to the cafeteria, Jones, want to pick you up some chili con carne?
I'm down here at Lawrence Livermore. Bada boom. Okay, so the whole deal is that it's older than what.
You should be a physicist. Very good.
Yeah, they should say it's really closer to like 1 trillion years old, and just forget it, because if you start throwing in everything else, you
stop looking.
Yeah, you just stop looking. It is so old or so far back in time that we'll never get there.
Well, even back in Einstein's years, which is only 70 years ago, he believed in the solid state theory, which was it's always existed, it always will. It basically stays the same, and then he admitted before he died that, wow, really boofed that one. Screwed that pooch.
Well, because
that's what he said too.
Yeah, exactly. That was a quote.
The whole idea is that he wrote several.
Einstein Poochie.
He wrote several equations saying that our universe was constantly expanding, constantly going out, and then he says, "Well, wait a minute, we got enough mass, critical mass. We will start to recontract at a certain moment,
which would blow."
But then all of a sudden, you sit there and you say, you look at Newton and Kepler and a few of the others saying, well, gravity is the weakest of our forces. That wouldn't stop the expansion of our mass. It may not stop at all. We may just keep expanding until that's it, till we just don't see the stars anymore.
I saw a fascinating show the other night on Science Channel talking about that gravity is so weak.
Yeah, it is the weakest of all forces.
Compared to other forces like magnetism, that they believe, these guys that talk like that, that there are multiverses and there's a universe next to us where gravity is very strong.
Yeah, exactly.
And just a little bit of it's leaking in, sort of like a little gas leak, and therefore we have a tiny little bit of gravity.
That's the whole idea, is that we have black holes in our universe that are sucking out our gravity virtually, like sucking a little out of the big balloon.
Yeah.
And then we have quasars in our galaxy that are actually giving us matter and giving us stuff, which is keeping us at a form of inflation or constant expansion. And then so we can't even go that far. We can't even say, why is a quasar feeding us when they have been feeding us since it all began.
A caller here says that Job chapter 42 in the King James uses the word behemoth, which in Greek means large animal, and that would be a whole show, just biblical oddities. Because the Bible talks about giants.
Yeah, the Leviathan. If you really want to get into the Bible and talk about the Leviathan,
the Kraken.
is the
beastie.
Sure. Yeah, is the beastie that comes from the ocean. It comes up from the ocean. It's actually so large it circles the earth, and you'll see in the millennium symbol is the serpent biting the tail. That's the Leviathan. That's how devastating these things can be.
And the Bible talks about that?
Yeah, it talks about the Leviathan of the deep, and when it. And then you get into these earthquakes. I was telling Tom about earthquakes and things like that.
It was the part where Jesus was teaching, and he said to Peter, "Oh my God, is that a Leviathan behind you?" And Peter's like, "Swear to God, you do that one more time. That's all it takes. One more.
You're going to be crucified, man."
See, he took it too far.
Yeah, seriously. Well, you threw it there to him, brother. That's on you.
Are we done with paranormal?
I guess. You can't get any more paranormal.
How you top that?
What do you think, Nick?
Dolphins with hip bones and making the decision to go back in the water?
He's the
best.
best,
Top
brother.
that?
No.
I'm going back to my planet now, and I'll see you guys a little bit later.
All right.
I want to go.
See you later.
Way. Limited edition Chewbacca Pez dispenser. And not individual Pez, whole packs.
Get out of here.
They only made 250 of these in 1979.
Come on, man.
The eyes follow you around the room.
No, they don't. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Yeah, maybe don't do that. That scares me just a little bit.
I love you, Chewie. I have to put you back in the drawer now. Sorry.
Majestic wolf lamp and his family.
Look at the craftsmanship on that thing.
They didn't leave it unfinished. They put bark accents on the back.
They didn't have to do that.
They didn't have to. They could have just shipped it off with a bare back. But no, I know that's what hooked me.
You could walk 360 around that thing.
Close your eyes. Feel the back of that. Are you feeling plastic or real tree bark?
Am I in the Black Forest of Germany?
No. You're just feeling the wolf lamp.
Do they have names?
Yes, they do. His name is Chancellor. Okay? There's a good chance he's half domesticated. This is Galco, which is Hebrew for kindness.
What about the pup?
The pup is unnamed. You can't put a name on the innocence of that face, can you?
Mm-mm. God, so you're bringing some high heat now. You understand that I've got to kick it up a notch.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you heard of the small one?
No.
You haven't heard of the small one?
Mm-mm.
It's a small box of fireworks you can buy.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. The big one.
I don't know what to say.
You can say that I rule the school on 4th of July.
Yeah, you do.
I mean, the stuff I'm cool lighting off is like Hornet's Nest, Golden Shower, Rose Blossom.
Right.
The bigger stuff, I let my dad do. It says light fuse and run away for a reason. And I'm just scared I'm not fast enough.
Parental supervision means parental supervision.
So guess what I'm doing tomorrow morning?
What you doing, brother?
I am having band practice at my house.
Love it.
And my 14-year-old drumming son, Nick, is going to be practicing a couple tunes that he'll be playing with us this summer at festivals.
Awesome, man. It's a good year, brother.
If he decides to learn them, which he now has 18 hours.
Yes,
So-
yeah. I was like, hey,
Typical
you wanna go
Glover
back there?
fashion. He's like, "Ah,
no.
whatever."
I go, hey, dude, you use my computer. No,
I'm fine.
You don't need it. Okay, all right.
It's rock and roll.
Big
Just a
deal.
Dave
It's
Glover
easy.
band.
It's
Not like
easy.
it's a
Right,
big
it's
deal.
easy. I'll have it.
And we're going to be playing this Saturday down at Soldiers Memorial from noon to 2. And this is for veterans of Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom. If that is you or someone in your family, grab them. Come on down. Starts about 9:30 in the morning. Goes all day. It's a welcome home and thank you. And let's see what else we need to tell them about. Keg Party. 100 more tickets made available. 971talk.com.
That's beautiful,
Tomorrow. I don't get scared very often. But tomorrow, I'm a little frightened because we're playing Battle of the Half-Wits with Dave MacArthur from MacArthur's Bakery. And we've never had one of those coffee talks yet that Dave didn't do something really, really inappropriate.
Irreverent,
and scare all the office ladies.
Yes.
And so he has no filter. You think I have no filter. This guy, zero filter. So this could be really, really interesting.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
If you see a walking dolphin, shoot him in the face.
Get more Dave Glover Show at 971talk.com.